Welcome everyone. My name is Suzanne Woodland, and I am one of the several students of Lama Surya who's been given the opportunity to share a bit of my practice with you during these Sunday meditation town hall sessions. And it is just my delight to be here. For those of you who have seen me sort of in the little square over the course of the last couple of years during these meditation town halls, you'll know that often I am sitting outside, but today here in New Hampshire, it is quite cold and is not really an ideal place from which to share a bit of my practice this morning, because even well-dressed, my teeth might be a bit chattering. So yeah, it is really lovely to see you all. So let's take a moment and just settle in and arrive in this spot. I personally like to take 3 nice deep breaths in the belly. Just letting my weight drop into the cushion. With that exhale, just letting everything go. And for me, my third one. Yeah, arriving, settling, smiling for me. So Kelly Amadei, who led last week and is a regular on our Sunday town hall meditation sessions, has said showing up is half the work or half the battle, depending on your preference on word choice. And I echo that. In fact, I might even say it's more than half of the work. So this opportunity just to get here right now, I think that really is the hardest part of what we do. And so with that, let's take a moment. I have asked to have myself not pinned as the central focus point, although you are welcome to do so that I can see all of your faces, or at least your names, and really kind of sit with that sense of both a sense of community and, for me, a sense of gratitude that I have other people to practice with. Take a moment. Feel free to flip the screen, because y'all don't fit on one screen. Kind of see who's here today. And take a moment and see if you can find a little bit of gratitude for the fact that we have people to practice with. Take a moment and I can bow to all of you. So, over my many years of practice, I have deployed a wealth of tools and tips and tricks to help me in my sort of householder life of, profession, children, all those other responsibilities that one tends to carry in a community, so that I can, to the greatest extent possible, as Lama would say, be there while I'm getting there. And I love that being there while getting there. It is simply that moment to moment opportunity that we all have to show up, to tap into what is, to what we know to be true. To be in that space of clarity and peace and open-heartedness. And I fell in love really with meditation and the core teachings of the Dharma, probably in the mid-1990s, 96 maybe. And so I looked at kind of the models for being free and being happy. I thought, well, the monk's life the nun's life is probably not going to be the way mine is going to unfold, particularly not when that second pregnancy came along, about 8 years after the first one. Like, oops, okay, reframe, rethink. But what it became clear to me is the more I practiced, the more I understood, the more I knew, really, being there while getting there. Okay, the last moment wasn't perfect. Maybe I kind of closed down and was a bit short with the kids. But there is this next moment and the next one. But really, I only have to worry about this one. And that is part of what I love, frankly, about Lama Surya's teachings. They're so moment by moment useful and inspirational. And so back to the tricks and tips and tools that I've deployed as I kind of move my way through the diversity of my life and my other commitments. You know, often it's, as we started at the beginning, kind of grounding in the breath and the breathing body, using that as my settling point. Sometimes it might be I'm flicking my eyes, something I learned from Lama Surya, I think it was him. I had a number of teachers, to just kind of break up the thoughts in my head so I can settle back down and open up. You know, sometimes it's reciting the mantra, doing a bit of chanting. And sometimes it's a brief bit of visualization. So I thought what I would do is share one kind of very short, simple little teaching. And we'll just take that into our meditation practice today, and you can use it or not. You know, the beauty is I don't know what's going on in your head. So if what I say is not helpful, you are welcome to do whatever is helpful for you. So there's your empowerment. So let's start, as we often do, by kind of setting our intentions for our practice together. And if you're at all new to this venue, what I like to say is don't mind the Tibetan or the construct that we put here at the beginning. It really is about our intention for coming together. And just take it in. It doesn't need to be more than that, or chant along if you are so inclined and know the chant. I'm going to do the Refuge and Bodhicitta chant, and if I am lucky, since sometimes the technology and I don't play well together, but we'll see. Here we go. All right, so with luck, you have up on your screen the Refuge and Bodhicitta. And again, if this is new to you, really it's about setting an intention as we kind of have our time together. So just kind of take it in and let it be. let it be. Yeah. Sangje chodang toki choknam la Rangju padu dakni kyapsu chi Daki jinsok chi pe sonam ki Drola penchir sangje drupar shok. In Buddha, Dharma, and supreme spiritual community, we go for refuge until fully enlightened, by the power of all 6 perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom, for the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. There we go. Now I can see you all again. Wonderful. So as we get ready to sit, I'll share with you a parable of the jewel in the robe. And this very short story, teaching story, comes from the Lotus Sutra, which is a Mahayana text. And Mahayana refers to a particular period or teaching within the Buddhist tradition. And it is contained, for those of you who like to know where things come from, the citations. This actually comes from a chapter entitled Prophecy of Enlightenment for 500 Disciples. And within that chapter, we have the Buddha speaking with some of his disciples, a great number, 500 or so arahants and another 700 of other practitioners, prophesizing that they are going to be enlightened, that they are progressing on their practice. And within that prophecy of enlightenment for these practitioners, this story is told. At one time, a very poor man with just a single robe and no food or other possessions visits his friend, a wealthy friend, and they have dinner together and they drink. And the poor man succumbs to the drink and falls asleep. The wealthy man needs to leave early in the morning for official business. But seeking to aid his friend, he sews a gem into the robe worn by his poor friend. And off he goes to his business. Later that morning, the poor man awakens, leaves the home of the wealthy friend, and carries on. And for many years, the poor man ekes by, grabbing what meals he can, not finding the gift that is in the robe. Until one day they intersect again, the wealthy friend and the poor man. And the wealthy man says, Why are you still in these robes? Why are you so hungry? Did you not find the jewel that I sewed into your robe so that you would be cared for? Poor man has to confess that no, he did not find the jewel. But now he has. And the parable is really meant to encourage us to find the jewel within, right? That jewel that we have within. It's right there. We just need to find it, to expose it, to open it up. And so when I'm practicing, sometimes I like a little bit of visualization. One of the tips and tricks, if I'm distracted or having trouble settling or connecting, is kind of thinking of opening up that jewel, pulling it out of the pocket. There's the jewel of the Dharma. There's the jewel of my own radiant nature. It's right there. Pull it out. Put it at your heart center. Yeah. So that's one of the little stories that I quite like. And so we'll kind of take that into our little practice today. And again, if it's not useful for you, set it aside. Just sit. So make yourself comfortable. Invitation. Take those nice 3 deep belly breaths again. Letting the weight drop into the cushion, the chair, your seat. Third time, sometimes the charm. Nice deep breath. Filling up the lower abdomen. Exhale. And starting with our just sitting. Finding our place. Kind of like arriving in the body. Being right here in this body, in this space. And just breathing. Oh, luscious breath. Just breathing. I personally love to follow the breath in the lower part of the body, in the dantian, the hara. Stabilizing, arriving, grounding. Oh, if I'm sleepy, sometimes I kind of connect with the breath up in the nose. And then just being. At rest, relaxed. And this is where we get to use that helpmate of the body, the breath, to help us be present and to just be. Always able to come back to that breathing body to help us arrive in the moment. It's like we're using the tool of the ordinary mind to kind of focus, arrive. And then we can let it go. So just sitting in this space, just breathing, this body relaxed. Just be. Open to all that arises. Without judgment. Invitation, open eyes, open mouth. I think of open pores of the skin. It's like you can sense everything around you. No limits. Can ride that exhale right into openness. And so if there are moments, or perhaps the mind starts to slide back into its ordinariness of, oh, what's for lunch? Or the tasks you hope to do this afternoon. This is where you get to put your hand in your pocket and pull out that jewel. That radiant jewel. That treasure you already have. I like to put it right. I probably can't see with Zoom. Don't have it right. There's a holding the jewel at my heart. The jewel you already have. So if that's helpful, the jewel of your own nature, the jewel containing the four sublime states: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Because this jewel has many facets. Maybe the jewel represents for you the 5 wisdoms. The wisdom of equanimity, discriminating wisdom, mirror-like wisdom, all-accomplishing wisdom, the wisdom of knowing reality just as it is. And that jewel just absorbs into you, because you are the jewel. You are that radiance when you can just be. A jewel of awareness. Yes. How joyous and beautiful for that moment to see all of you as these radiant jewels, many colors, shapes and facets. Oh, whatever you do, don't work too hard. The real work was showing up. Those simple instructions of just sitting and just breathing and just being. But now perhaps with a little glitter. So as we start to wrap up this formal, I say tenderly, part of the sit, really make sure you're kind of wrapping yourself in some kindness and well-wishing for this effort you made to show up. Take a moment, a little wellness, well-wishing, kindness for everyone on those little panels. Feel free, roam yourself through the little panels. Kindness for all of us, well-wishing. All right, we'll dedicate the merits of our practice. And because I want to leave some time for what I'll call a public service announcement. So hang on here. Got this right. They left the lawyer in charge of the technology, and I think I got it. Can you see the dedication of virtue? Dory's nodding yes. All right. So for those who would like to chant along, feel free. At home. Gewa di nudu tap. Tsokpa chempo drupkyo ne, drowa chikyang malupa, de sala gopar shok. Through this virtue, may we swiftly realize and fully embody the natural great perfection, and thereby bring all without exception to its complete realization. Jangchup Samchok Rinpoche Make Panam Ke Gyorshik Kepa Nyampa Mepa Yang Gonne Gondu Palwar Shok. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering, confusion, unstoppably, until all are illumined and awakened. There we go. Since I know, I have confidence, I guess, that most of you have a regular sitting practice, and I will say that sometimes the longer formalities, as we've chanted today, not long really, really whatever works for you at home as you kind of bring your sit to a close. My usual practice is a very simple, may all beings be well, may all beings be free from suffering until the end. And it's 3 times. And it is that simple. And I actually sometimes do that throughout the day. When no one's watching, right? Because I work in a public environment and it's a little tricky. And it's just that invitation to take my practice off the cushion. Yeah. So whatever works for you. Oh, there's a cool cat. All right. Sorry. So I wanted to leave a little time at the end just to share a little bit. Like I said, I kind of call it the public service announcement. And it's for how to be at peace in troubling times, right? So as some of you know, because I've mentioned it, I work in local government, and that can be a very interesting space to be in at any time, and certainly at this time. And I lead meditation at our local library, and the folks that come into our library, some are homeless or next to homeless, and others are frankly quite well off. But like everyone, they have their own kind of suffering and their opportunities where they're looking to kind of be more at peace. And what I think is useful in these times of disasters, accidents, and changes in national and local politics, there are some strategies I've deployed and that I share with others about how to stay in that place of peace and kind of happiness and creative response in these times. And so I thought I'd just kind of put a few out there for you to reflect upon. And one of the, I think, first and foremost ones are kind of the classic guard the senses. Okay, for any of you who've studied Buddhism at any length, you would have probably heard of this, guarding the senses, kind of limiting the input that you're taking in. And I really think sometimes we get a little sloppy, right? Or we're feeding some other dragon when we're scrolling through the news. And how much time and energy we're putting into what we're taking in. So there's a certain amount, given the nature of my work, where I have to be concerned about local budgets and impacts and programs. There's a certain amount of news that I take in, but I have a very practical reason for wanting to take it in, because I'm going to figure out how I take care of my community within a changed set of conditions. So there's a very practical heart space with which I'm taking in news and figuring out how I'm going to care for folks and adjust. But there's other news I don't need to maybe take in much other than perhaps to know that it exists, because there's actually no problem that I am going to be in a place to solve. And so I set the boundary. I don't actually need to read that whole article. I got it with the headline or with my BBC News summary. And I don't actually need to do the deep dive into something that is perhaps going to kind of bring up anger or some other feeling that I'm not really ready to be creative with as opposed to reactive. And so I guard my senses, figuring out, why is it, am I kind of following this thread, if you will, of information? Is this healthy for me right now? Is it going to help me in helping others? And if it is, that's great. Am I in a place to do that? So that's one piece of sharing that I have, which is understand what you're reading, why you're reading it, and whether it is healthy and useful for you to do that now. That would also go to who you hang out with, right? And I've been mindful of my intersections with certain parts of my family. Which goes to, well, when those intersections come up, what do I do? One thing that's very helpful is to spend some time like this, opening the heart, understanding that everyone suffers. We all have our views. And I am absolutely sure that every member of my family wants to be free from cancer, wants their kids to be free from cancer, wants to have enough food on the table, wants to have shelter, generally prefers to be dry and warm rather than cold and wet. Loves their pets. I may do that just as a few minutes before I get in the car. Maybe I do a formal metta bhavana practice. Many ways to do that. But I make sure I've opened the heart and established and grounded. We are all human beings and we are all suffering. And suffering from our own wrong thinking sometimes, right? Not really seeing reality as it is. So there's my other piece of kind of tuck that away and see if that might be helpful for you as you intersect. Pivot. When I started my Tai Chi practice, which I started as a martial art, which I love, what was fascinating is watching my response. I'm a lawyer too, right? Trained as a lawyer, which was my natural response is wanting to use more force to push back. Very, very intuitive for me. I was like, oh. And what I learned and what I began to put in the body was this ability to pivot, to turn, to take the energy and go this way, or back. And that opened up then an opportunity to do something else. So instead of hitting something straight on, relax, turn, there's the opportunity. And it is amazing how effective that can be in so many places. Just pivot. It's amazing how many conversations you can have with people who have very diverse views from you. And if you just pivot a little bit, and sometimes it's the asking the questions or bringing something up that's kind of adjacent but not so hot topic, and you just pivot a little bit, or you find that common ground, come this way, and then you can have a different space in conversation. So pivoting, as opposed to running head on. Again, as much as that was my intuitive nature, from a whole bunch of reasons. Posture. Okay, here's a tricky one. So as I'm sitting in a fairly my upright kind of meditation posture. I find, and you might find, that if you are attentive to your posture, and particularly if you've had a long time meditation practice, if you can be in that uprightness when you are in these, whatever the challenging condition is for you, your body is remembering, this is where I relax. This is where I see reality as it is. This is where I am open-hearted. Go back to the posture, because you can do this standing up. Cocktail party, family party, in the middle of a conference room. Find that uprightness. And it almost, your body remembers. And if your body remembers, there's that spaciousness of heart. Pull the jewel out of the pocket. Yeah. And I'll end on this one note, humor. So one of the things that I actually adore about Lama Surya is his sense of humor. And I work with a lot of people who actually have a great sense of humor, which is an absolute blessing. And I, when all else fails, find some way to look at it that can bring a bit of a smile and if not to your face, then to someone else's. And you can find it out there. So Lama Surya sent a cartoon yesterday, I guess it was. Yesterday, the day before. And it shows a pitcher, right? Of course, it's a baseball one. It's a pitcher. And there's the batter. And the pitcher is still holding on to the ball. So he's speeding towards home plate with the ball. And you can see the word bubble in the background. Must come from the crowd or the coach that says, "Let go." Right? Right? Let go. So sometimes there's a little bit of humor somewhere. So I offer that up as well. So there are five pieces for kind of being in these sometimes interesting times, right? We have interesting times. Guard the senses. Open the heart with a little metabhavna or some other practice that opens your heart. Pivot. Watch the posture. Use the body to help open what is naturally there within you and what you can tap. Pull that jewel out, hold it in your heart, and a little bit of humor. So there's my heartfelt and caring advice in these interesting times. So, I don't think did I ring the bell to end? I'll ring the bell for us to go out. How's that? And keep in mind, donations are always welcome so we can keep the platform alive and continue to enjoy our time together. So thank you, everyone. It's been absolutely lovely to be with you.